guys, welcome back to Simply Living and welcome to today's episode. So we're finally back with another DIY. This DIY took me about almost 3 weeks to just finally decided to just go with it because it drove me crazy. So as it turns out, concrete is not that easy to work with, and here's what I've learned. So first things first, let me tell you what I did wrong. So first off, I will not recommend using this concrete mix. I think that it's a good concrete mix, just not necessarily for this project, just because it takes forever to dry and I'm really impatient. And if you're just like me, it's just better to go off a different route. So of course, with concrete mix, you have to add water until you achieve the desired consistency. I want to say that it's best to leave it kind of like into a paste, but not too thick, because you will need to molds, and then when you put it in the molds, you need to tap the molds so that you can let all the air bubbles out, because this will give you a smooth concrete finish. Another huge tip that I have for you guys is do not overfill the molds. If you can see, the molds, at least the ones that I got, have a line, and I think that line is kind of to indicate that that's where you should top it off to, because when you overfill them like I did, you're actually going to get these or overflow from them, and then it's going to dry there and it's not going to look very pretty, to be honest. When it dries that way, it's just going to look like two balls or two halves were sandwiched together, versus having the actual finished product look like a solid piece of concrete. Huge tip that I have for you guys is to not use anything that is cardboard or paper to poke a hole through the cement balls and leave it in there, because it's going to expand and get stuck in there, which it did to me in the first few batches that I tried making. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. The best way to do this is by using a plastic pen, oil it up so that it doesn't dry or doesn't stick inside the concrete. You can either leave it in there. I didn't personally do that. I actually just used the pen to poke the hole through and then just pull it out a few minutes before the concrete dried completely, just because I wanted to make sure that I was creating that hole, but I didn't want to risk like the pen drying in there, to be honest. So just do that and it'll work. Of course, it might not poke through all the way, which that means that you're going to need a drill to drill a hole into them. So as you can see with the first concrete mix that I used, it left this weird crummy look, very sandy. It was actually coming apart. That is because some concrete mixes do have sand or rocks in them. I don't know the science behind that, but that apparently is used in concrete mixing. So instead, I tried this Quikrete, I don't know how you pronounce this. This is just a faster drying concrete mix. It does have larger or bigger rocks, which is why you should strain them, because that will actually leave a smoother finish when you leave the rocks out. As you can tell, it is a smoother consistency, and you can already tell, obviously. And then of course make it into a pasty consistency, then pour it into the molds, tap the molds to release the air bubbles, and you will get these really nice solid smooth finished concrete balls. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was hard and it did take me a few tries, and to be honest, I gave up because it was just so much work. It was hard to get it the right, perfect, smooth finish. At least for me, it was. I don't know. It is my first time working with concrete, to be honest. But otherwise, I just decided to just stick with it and leave it as is and just live with it. Here are all the batches that I ended up making. They're not perfect, to be honest. Like I said, this is a learning process. The ones that came out perfect, I could not use because I couldn't drill a hole because I didn't have the right drill bit. But it's okay. I decided to just let it go and deal with it. Obviously, I'm not going to use the standy ones because those would leave a mess everywhere, but just wanted to share with you the difference between the concrete mixes. Also, you get to choose the cord or rope of your choice. I decided to go with this one, to be honest, because I couldn't find a thicker one and the other one was a little too thick, so it wasn't going to work for my project. But I would recommend going with something thicker because you do want to tie some knots in between the beads, so that you have a space between them. You don't want them to bang on each other because they may crack and make more of a mess. So I decided to just tie a few knots, and actually this ended up working perfectly. I have no regrets. It looks fine. It looks good. I'm happy. And this is the end result. I love them so much. I know that they're not perfectly shaped and done, but you know what? I grew to love them and I'm so happy with the way that they turned out. I tried my best. I can say I made this. Also, organic shapes and lines and textures is really trendy right now, so I'm all for it. By the way, I did not throw away the other ones. I actually ended up finding a spot for them. And look at how good they look. I mean, I wish that these would have been in my beads, but they'll do in my bowl. And that is all for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and check out my Instagram. I do post a little bit more behind the scenes over there when I'm working on videos or DIYs. I also make reels on tips and just my overall experience in home decorating. Of course, I enjoy this. This is my hobby, and I hope that you join me along for the journey, and we'll see you next time. Bye.